Hi everyone, thanks for checking out this video. Okay, so in the last lesson we were talking about data types, and if you guys remember, the fourth basic Python data type that we talked about was this Boolean data type, which can either be true or false, and you can get Booleans by like defining a variable to be true or false, or you can get them by checking conditions like this. You can check a condition and see if a statement like 4 is greater than 0, see if that statement is true or false. Okay, so in this lesson, I'm going to be showing you guys something cool we can do with Booleans. It's a thing called if statements, and it's a pretty simple concept, but at the same time, it's also like one of the key foundations of computer science. Really, yeah, maybe even like the most foundational like concept that we're going to be talking about in terms of like computer science. So yeah, but yeah, at the same time, it's like I said, it's pretty simple. So basically, an if statement is just a block of code that you do only if a condition that you're checking is true, and if it's false, then you don't do it. So the way that you write an if statement is just by saying, just to give an example, I'll say, let's say we have a variable x, which is -2. And then we can write an if statement by saying if, and then the condition we want to check, maybe in this case we can check if x is greater than 0. And then colon, and then if you press enter, it should indent automatically, but if it doesn't, then just indent it yourself with the tab key. So this is kind of how some like code blocks work in Python, is that when you're putting something under a condition check, like an if statement or maybe a loop or something, the block of code that you're defining in that like segment of the code is going to be indented under the original statement. So we have this if statement, if x is greater than 0, colon, and then indent the next line. And then at this point, any code that we write here is only going to be executed if the statement is true. So if x is in fact greater than 0, then this block of code will be executed. So just for example, we can say like print x, and then maybe another one like print x is positive. And the reason I just wrote 2 lines is just to show you guys that we can put as many lines under this if statement as we want to, as long as they're all indented in like this. Then this whole block of code will only be executed if the statement is true. So let's just try running it now and just see what happens. So I'm going to save and then run module. So yeah. It's hard to even tell right now, but it did just run, but it didn't print anything because this if statement is coming up as false. So it's checking, is x greater than 0? Well, no, x is -2, so this is false. So this block of code does not get executed. But then at the same time, we could change this to be like if x is greater than -10, and then this will make the statement true. So if we run it again, now it'll actually print out these things. And again, showing you guys we can include more than one command here in this code block. So yeah, now that it's true, Python, when it gets this if statement, is checking, resolving this condition check. It turns out to be true. So this block of code underneath does get executed. And we can see here it printed out x, and then printed out x is positive. Okay, so this is like the most basic if statement, and there's another optional thing we can use along with an if statement if we want to. It's not required, of course, because we just saw that we could just run it without doing this. But if we want to, we can also have an else code block. So if we say else and then put some code indented under this else statement, this will be a block of code that gets executed if the if statement check is false. So in this case, we can say like print x, and then print x is not positive. Okay. Or sorry, just to make this make sense, I'll change this back to 0. Because, yeah, just to make the threshold make sense for being positive or not positive. Yeah, okay, so now we can try running this with x being -2. And yeah, so this time what it's doing is it's defining x to be -2. Python sees this if statement and then checks to see if this condition is true or not. This condition turns out to be false, so it skips over this block of code under the if statement and instead executes this block of code under the else statement, which is printing out x, then printing out x is not positive. So besides the else statement, there's one other optional thing we can do if we want to, and this can be done without even having an else block if we don't want to. But we can say something else called elif. And so basically an elif statement checks another condition, but it only reaches this point if the previous if statement is false. So in this case, just to make it make sense, we can say I'll change this around a little bit. So we'll say if x is greater than 0, print x is positive. And then we can say elif x is less than 0, then print x is negative. And then else print x is 0. Because if x is not positive and not negative, that means that x is 0. So in this case with this elif, yeah, this is like another if statement, but it only gets checked if the previous if statement turns out to be false. And we can even have more than one of these. We can have a bunch of elif statements, all of them saying different things, and we can have them go in a chain like this where each one will only get checked if all of the previous ones were false. So that's how the elif statement works. It's like another if statement, but it only gets checked if the preceding if and elif statements all come up false. So I mean, it's short, like elif is short for like else if. So that's that. We can try running this. Run it with -2 maybe. So yeah, in this case, it checked if x is greater than 0. That's false. So it checked if x is less than 0, and that's true. So then it executed this block of code. We can try again, just making x 0, and then see what happens. And yeah, in this case, it checks x is greater than 0. That's false. So it skips over this block of code. And then it checks elif x is less than 0. That's also false. So it skips over this block of code. And then since everything else was false, it executes the else code block. So it prints out x and prints out x is 0. Okay, so one more quick thing to show you guys. I'm just going to actually comment out this line just to get rid of it for now. But just to show you guys, we can also use if statements and like elif and else statements with like checks that are stored in Boolean variables, just to get us used to like using these variables and just get us used to it. We can do a check where the check is checking a condition, where we say like check equals or maybe we can, yeah, sorry, but yeah, we can start with our x number, x equals 0, and then we can check like x is greater than 0, and then we can say if check, where remember check is resolving to either true or false based on how this turns out. We can say if check, then print I don't know, maybe like check passed or something, and then maybe else print check failed. So in this case, we could run it, and this is turning out to be false because 0 is not greater than 0. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys for this lesson. Again, yeah, we're learning kind of gradually here, but hopefully you're starting to see, like, hopefully you're starting to get a sense of like how much we're going to be able to do with these kind of simple foundations. We're going to see as these lessons go on that this can be like very powerful in terms of being able to do useful stuff for us. But yeah, I think for this video, that's enough for this video. And yeah, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.